Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is directed by Akifa Schaffer and stars John Mulaney, Andy Samberg, and Kiki Lane. 30 years after their popular television show ended, Chip and Dale live very different lives. But when a cast member from their original series mysteriously disappears, the duo must reunite to save their friend. So I was a 2000s kid myself, which means I missed the Disney afternoon by about a decade. So just to clarify, I never grew up with any of these cartoons. I never grew up with Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I never grew up with Darkwing Duck. I did, however, see Gargoyles for some weird reason. Now that was a good show. But it appeared that with this movie, even newcomers could come into this film and watch it and get some enjoyment out of it. So I did watch it, I never saw the original show, and did I get enjoyment out of it? While I can say that newcomers can come into this and can probably like it just as much as fans of the show, I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, but I don't hate it. There's definitely more to this movie to like than there is to hate on. For one thing, the animation in this film is spectacular. Whether the characters are 2D, CG, or sometimes just straight up puppets, the animation is really solid and flowing, and even the 2D characters still have physical dimensions to them that do make them feel like they are in the environment that they are in. Now, when they're interacting with the live action people, that's a whole different story. But for when they're interacting with other toons, it's actually really good, and I don't know whether to praise the animation or the effects, but whoever, I do praise you. Also, the funniest thing about this movie is the world they create. The world of this film is sort of like if Roger Rabbit took place in today's culture of entertainment. A world of constant reboots, bootlegs, and scandals. Sometimes characters will just walk by a billboard or something, and just the image on that board featuring the character that it does manages a laugh. And the way that the story interconnects these very cartoonish characters, these very famous cartoon characters, into this sort of serious detective story really is funny. Like, one character will be giving a whole monologue about their tragic backstory on the police force, and it'll be about a massacre involving the Paw Patrol. Just that monologue alone isn't just funny, but immediately I need to know more. And although this movie will no doubt get a lot of comparisons to Roger Rabbit, and in a way I do feel like it is a spiritual successor, it never feels like it's constantly ripping off Roger Rabbit. It does have its own sort of detective story to tell, it does have its own character, so it never feels like it needs to constantly reference this movie that had already done it before. With that said, I do feel like Roger Rabbit was still better, and this does lead me to some of my problems with Chip and Dale. Mainly the characters of Chip and Dale. I did not like them. I never found them funny in this movie. They have no chemistry, their jokes are too basic to be memorable, and the film's biggest crime is that it casts John Mulaney and Andy Samberg as the Chipmunks, two of the best comedians nowadays, and they never made me laugh once in this film. I don't even think fans of Rescue Rangers would be glad by this portrayal of the duo, because it's not the characters from the show that are in this movie, it's actors that played the characters from the show, so it just gets mixed up in something that just doesn't work. And along with Kiki Lane's performance, which is just... yeesh. My other big problem with the movie is the basic story. Now, I know what you're thinking. One, it's a kid's movie. Two, the cases from the show probably had very basic stories to them too. Well, those were, 22-minute episodes? And this is an hour-and-a-half movie that's supposed to cater to both kids and adults. And this is another area where I do think Roger Rabbit had the upper hand. Because Roger Rabbit was never afraid to go dark and I mean murdering a cartoon character dark, it left more of an impact. And along with focusing on the very dour and human Eddie Valiant, it felt adult while still easily catering to kids. While the jokes can sometimes be more for adults than kids in this film, there's not much else to the story that feels particularly dark and edgy, which is weird considering that the original audience for Rescue Rangers would be more than ready for that kind of story. But since this movie feels safer, it feels like it's going to make less of an impact. I don't know, maybe it's the sick, twisted human in me, but I just needed to see Darkwing Duck get his feathers plucked. Was that too much to ask? But in all seriousness, at the end of the day, the movie is fine, harmless, and I did find myself enjoying the movie more than I did hating it. I never found Chip and Dale very endearing in the film. The story feels too safe at times, and there were a fair few jokes that did not land. But not only were the animation and the effects really solid, the world building was also interesting, and when the script mixed its straightforward detective story with its absurd cartoon characters, those were the funniest moments. When you get down to it, it's an okay family movie, but at the same time, an okay is still a recommendation to a degree. I'm going to give Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers a C. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, which Disney afternoon show would you like to see get the big screen, or in the Disney Plus case, whatever screen you're watching on, treatment? For me, gotta be Gargoyles, man. I really need to see a good Gargoyles movie. The darker, the grittier, the better. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.